Hey, poker people. This is Sky coming at you with a hand history review based on the focus session that I played just the night before. You can see I'll in this link that pops up right here, you can check out that video. I would suggest watching that focus session first to see how I play those hands in the moment, and then come back to this video and check out how we do a little hand history review on those hands. So see how I played, and then come back and see some analyzing of the hands. So the whole session last night was geared towards targeting the weak players. And when you're thinking about weak players, you're really looking for the loose passive and the tight passive players. The lag players as well. You could take advantage of them. And these are the basics. Hold on a sec. Forgot this. Okay, so your loose passive players or stations, they check and call a lot instead of betting and raising. And if they do raise, you got to watch out. Kind of the same thing with the tight passive players here. If they're raising, you watch out. But they're, typically called a nit or a rock, and they call with good hands. They call beyond the flop with a pair or a really good draw. Lags are loose aggressive players, and these are maniacs or donks. They aggressively play too many hands, and it's a very high variance style of play, and they're often losing players, the lags. They're ones that you want to target play against them in position and let them spew off when you've got a good hand. And tags are tight aggressive players. Most winning players are tags. They can get out of line sometimes against certain opponents and get really aggressive against them because they know that they'll fold a lot of hands. So tags can get out of line, but they're often winning players, and they prefer bets and raises to checks and calls without a doubt. And lots of tags can be regs. So we'll see at this table, we'll see mostly loose passive players, and we'll see a couple regs throughout the course of play. Right here. So just looking around the table, this guy is colored in blue because blues are regs. Heaven 407, I've played 382 hands, but I see him quite frequently multi-tabling 3 or 4, 5 tables at a time. And with these stats, he's a good tag player. If he wasn't a reg, I would have him outlined in red right there. Some loose passive players we have at the table. 578 hands, he plays at 38.5. Now that is super loose. 38% of hands he comes in with, which is just a crazy absurd amount, and he only raises 5%. 5% is like, nines are better, and ace queen suited and ace king off. Maybe even ace jack suited and ace queen off, he comes in for raises. But so this guy's really loose passive. Same thing with this guy here. He raises a few more hands than this one, but he plays quite a lot more. So he'll play a lot, maybe like, of course, every ace, every king, most queens, probably every queen, lots of jacks, all the pocket pairs, and probably, a ton of suited hands, even suited 3-gappers. I bet you he'll come in with an 8-5 for a limp. Same thing with this guy, plays a ton of hands, and then this guy as well. Now, this guy I don't have marked in green. I only have 11 hands on the guy. Now, most likely he's, a loose passive player, and we can definitely target him as well. But just with 11 hands, who knows what can change. Maybe he had a really crazy streak of a lot of suited connectors he wanted to limp in with. Highly doubtful, but you never know. I like to save normally marking players with colors, like at least normally 100 hands, but if it's so obvious over a good stretch that they're loose passive, I'll go ahead and mark them that. And the reason I do that is because, anytime I could take a look, hey, 6412, he's loose passive. But seeing the color makes me not even have to think about numbers. Bam, loose passive, I want to get in hands with this guy. I want to get in hands with him, just based on the color. And based on the color, I want to avoid hands with this guy unless I've got a great spot, a great opportunity, a great hand, whatever the case may be, So that's what targeting the weak is, looking for those players that are going to be your most likely source of income, of profits, So this very first hand, Jack 10, this is a good time to raise just to ISO and try to get heads up in position, or even 3-way versus these two fish right here. So let's kind of see what happens. We get a limp, so I pop it up. When people limp in, they've shown some kind of inclination to wanting to see a flop. So whether they limp or whether they make a raise, when you isolate them by making another raise behind or raising over their limp, you're most likely going to get the pot heads up with the guy. I would love to be in a pot with this guy, and one of the big reasons is his fold to flop c-bet is 90%. That means I can c-bet 100% of flops and make money off of this guy because he's only calling with a pair or better, most likely. So that's why we want to isolate this guy. It folds around, comes back to him, he calls. Great. Now, a king 9-7 flop, a limp caller can easily hit a king, two spades, even a bottom pair, like a, queen 7 and want to continue on, that kind of a thing. Or have a jack 10 or a queen jack for a gut shot. Let's see what happens. He checks. I make a standard 2/3 pot. And he folds, piece of cake hand right there. So he did exactly what we had expected to. He could have had 3-5 suited, 3-5 of hearts for all we know. Right there. Now an ace-6. Great. So this guy, instead of min-raising, instead of limping, comes in for a min-raise. So I would say that this would be a good hand to, because he folds so much post, a good hand to isolate him with. And we do the isolation. He comes along. Now, who knows what he can have. This guy, he raises only 12% hand, so you could say he's got about a 15% hand right here. He has any pocket pair, ace 9, ace 8 suited or better, some offsuit aces, and a lot of suited broadways and offsuit broadways. He's got probably like even 9-8 suited and above, So while we do play pretty well against that kind of range, he does have some cards that dominate us without a doubt. So we've got to be kind of careful, but at the same time, screw that. He folds so much, he'll wake up, he'll make a big raise, or he'll just call and come along if he has anything, and we could just give up on the turn if necessary. Oh, but he throws out a min bet. Min bets are often just weak. I want to try a weak bluff, or I want to get to the turn really cheaply. It can often be a blocking bet. Sometimes limps and then min bets like this could be strength, and he wants a raise so that he can, come over the top, that kind of a thing, which is actually what he does here. We raise, make pretty decent size bet. That's how much we would have bet if he hadn't raised. Oftentimes I treat limps and like min donks like that, like the player didn't even raise. Unless I know he's tricky, I'll watch out. But I don't know too much about this guy just yet. So, of course, we fold here. But let's take a look at some math real quick. It is costing us 134 to win a total pot of 420 plus 563. So divided by 5.63. We need 24% equity to call this hand. But the thing is, we don't have any additional money to win behind. So on a 3-7-8 board, get out Flopzilla here. It doesn't really, kind of matters, I guess. 3-7-8. We've got the ace-6 of diamonds, because we do have the backdoor draw, so it does matter what cards are out there, of course. And now, this guy limp called. Let's put him on a 15% range to start. Let's give him all pocket pairs. Let's give him down to here. Oh, no, maybe not that low. Ace-7 is good, king-9. Min-raising, though. He's min-raising. Let's take away some of these. Let's give him the min-raise there. Okay. Let's just give him this. What is it? 19.3. If you take away those, maybe about a 20% range or so. So ace-6 suited. Against this range, we have 39.8% equity. So without a doubt, we have the equity needed. But there's no money to win behind. We're just taking a chance that we draw out on the guy. We're taking a chance that he's doing with this with a king. I mean, what kind of better hand can we have than him? King, queen, king, jack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 suited, 1, 2, 3, 4 offsuit hands, and all of these have us beat as of right now. So really, and even the ace-7 has us beat, of course, and the ace-8, ace-9. So really, we're not beating too many hands. If we call here, we're just looking to suck out. I'm not a big fan of calling to suck out. So we just, didn't really show, but yeah, folded that puppy right there. 87 against a min raise and a call. Just don't want to play with this kind of hand. I prefer isolating with an 8-7 suited. I'm sorry, 8-7 off. Just because, and then if I were to limp here, it incentivizes this guy who's a good player to come over the top. Some of these short stacks to come over the top too with any kind of decent hand. And I'm just not looking to play multi-way with an 8-7 offsuit. So we ditch that. Jack 3, I'm giving up no matter what. There's not much equity on a Jack 3, and I'd rather just pick a better spot and wait for better cards, and plus later position. I could see myself isolating against this guy if I were right here, in the cutoff or the button, isolating him. But in such early position, so many players left behind, nah, it's not worth it, the isolation. Jack deuce, not even going to come in there. 39, let's see what happens when it comes to me. Of course, I'm just going to check. I've already got it multi-way against some fish right here. Everyone checks around. The jack, now we have almost 0% equity. I mean, hitting a 10, how good is a 10 going to be? These guys, so passive, can easily be limping in with aces. And then plus, there's only 2 10s, or 3 10s really, that help us. One of the 10s is no good with the spade. So it's just not a hand we want to continue with. We're just check folding. We have just about 0 equity, so there's no point in even getting involved beyond that. So let's see if we can do some ISOing here. Oh man, 2 limps, a raise, and a call. This guy's short stacked. We could get it in here. Not get it in, but I mean, we got some short stacks here. But ace jack off is just not that good of a hand to face against. Guaranteed he's going to be playing. And then this guy came in for 4 BBs over 2 limps. And he's getting to be the, let's take a look here. He's getting on the away from the loose passive and getting to the loose aggressive kind of side of things right here, getting up there. So playing out of position against a loose aggressive guy. If we call, we'll get more callers. And if we raise, we're just building a pot out of position against 2, of course, these guys are going to call, this guy for sure and this guy. So it's just not a good hand. Not a hand I want to stick with. 45. Now we could ISO, and we do ISO against this guy. We got a caller and a caller. And we flop, wow, gutter plus a flush draw, nice. We've got to be c-betting here. We don't know what he does versus c-bets, but when you don't know what a guy does, you've got to start throwing out some c-bets or paying attention when somebody c-bets against him to see how he reacts to them, So in this spot, we had better c-bet with so much equity. It would be a good idea to build a pot a little bit now on the flop, check behind the turn to get a free river if we miss on the turn. So let's see what we do. 50 cents, a little bit over half, and 2 folds. It happens. But hey, we took down the pot. That's good. Now this guy raised. Now, a bigger raise this time. He doesn't raise often. I can definitely see myself flatting here and letting these guys come along behind, or I can see myself folding. Either way, I don't think it's a mistake either way, because while we might isolate him, he has 0 behind in his stack. There's no implied odds. All we can really win, all we can hope to win here is 4.5 BBs by raising, which it's not a bad idea doing. But let's say we raise here. These guys fold. They're all going to see our cards. They're going to see that we come in and we ISO with what they're going to consider not a good hand at all. And personally, I don't consider this that good of a hand either. So I'm not a fan of ISOing here in a spot where everyone's going to see your cards, assuming they fold. And if they come over the top, you're folding and just throwing away 9 big blinds, whatever the case is. So I'm good with the fold there. We got a call and then a raise. It's not an all-in, but close to a min. Oh, wow. Look at all that action. Let's see what we got here. The 3 better. And now he shoves. Okay, and then we get to see what he has. The kings, of course, which is a standard play there. And the guy got lucky, flushed it on the river. Whatever. Yeah, getting rid of the deuce 4. No need to try to ISO. Queen 7, forget about it. Don't like the position, don't like the hand. Now, this guy is seeing so many hands, it would be great to isolate him in a later position. So in 3 hands from now, when we're on the button, and he comes in ahead of us with a limp, we can ISO him. The only downside is the guy has, very little stack behind, so the implied odds aren't that great. I mean, you want to play against a guy like this where he's going to call you so much post-flop and give you so much value. Like this guy with these bigger stacks, these are the ones that you want to tackle. Because they call so much, because they're stations, like we said, you want to see them have bigger stacks, at least 30 to 40 big blinds. You would prefer everybody to be big stacked. No, Teddy KGB came in. Okay, here's a tight passive player. He's getting to be kind of taggish. If he would raise a little bit more, he'd be a tag reg. But he is a reg. I see him on a lot of tables, 4K hands. We could actually... but maybe he's not the tag status. Maybe he's still learning, but because he's still kind of tight passive, only raising half his hand. So we'll skip that. We'll keep it the yellow tag for now. Anyway, so it would be great if you had a bigger stack, and you want to isolate the bigger stacks, the stations, because they'll just pay you off post. This guy, maybe not so much. A lot of these guys do pay off post. Look at that, fold 20% to C-bets, 2 out of 10. That's great. He's the one he's one that you want to isolate, especially if you had a bigger stack. No good there. 5-7, just going to give that up under the gun. King 3, well, I guess we'll check and see a flop. I'm not going to raise here, even though this guy's so passive. We could take it away. 100% fold to C-bet. Okay. So as you can see too, also, as you're watching this, give it a pause. You can see my cash HUD is broken down right here. So at any time, pause the video and you could take a look at it. Hey, Heaven's stats, these are his stats right here, to give you kind of an idea of what's going on. You don't have to try to listen to me talking and trying to figure out what all my different stats are that I'm looking at, So in a spot like this, I'm often going to look at their, whoops, not that one, their raise first in. Now, this guy limps from early position, middle position, not so much. Oh, I only have 12 hands on it. He's not worth looking at. But let's say this guy had limped in, for example. I'll take a look at this pop-up right here. This is my positional pop-up, so SB, BB, EPMP just shows all the positions from earliest to latest. And you can see this guy, for example, limps a ton in early position. So his limps don't have to necessarily mean strength. Oftentimes, you'll find good players, like tag players or even lag players, who limp early position because they want to raise. They limp with ace-king, they limp with aces, kings, and queens, that kind of stuff. This guy limps so often. If he would have limped here, you can't put him on a good hand, so raising would be fine if we had a better hand. But yeah, this is one of the stats that I look at, the any limp, and it's just a shame we only have 12 hands, so his any limp, whoops, wrong one. His any limps is not so worth it. One of the other stats I look at, limp call, limp fold, limp raise right here. So if we pop open what's going on? Okay, there we go. So if we pop open in this, we have 592 hands on the guy. He's a 38-5, which means he's a super passive player. Oh, interesting. It's funny. I keep doing this kind of stuff. HUD profiles. Pop-up groups. My Assassinato pop-up. This stat right here, I would love for it to be centered. So let's see what happens. Just hit OK. Come back to the table and you see how it's to the left right there. Let's get out of it, pop it back open. Bam, it's to the right. It's easier to read that way, just with a little gap between the two. So he's a 38-5 player. You can see limp folds a lot, limp calls a whole lot. So if this guy were to limp and we were to raise, we can't count on a steal. So raising with the king 3 would not be a good idea to try to blow this guy off of a hand because he limp calls most of the time right there. Limp folds only 23%. Plus if we raise here out of position, he's probably almost guaranteed to be calling with his limp call percentage, So that's one of the things I look at when I'm facing some limps in the blinds. And so, well, we're done with that hand. There's just no point there in being involved. Now, the Jack 4, I'm not a fan of ISOing out of position with such a bad hand. Now, granted, though, this kind of hand, if you should play it, you know right away on the flop whether or not you can continue or not. If it's King, Queen, Jack, you're done with the hand. If it's Jack, Deuce 3, you're probably going to stay in. If it's 2 clubs with a spade, or 2 clubs with anything else, you're probably going to check call a decent sized flop bet just to see what comes on the turn, that kind of thing. So it's a hand that can be worth playing, but at the same time, there's so many fish at this table. Why play with a hand like this? That's just not going to win you that much money, and oftentimes it'll lose you a lot of money. Jack 4 suited, so I'd rather just fold it there and find a different one. Well, we flopped a pair, backdoor draw, missed, and then nothing good. So we did not lose anything by giving that up. King Deuce, no. Well, no. We've got a reg here, or a tight passive player, but basically a reg because he plays so much. I have 4.1k hands on him. I could have raised this, but he's not fishy enough, weak enough to ISO. Raising, let's say it was these 2 guys in the blinds. King 3 I can raise. Let's take a look at the hand before. Yeah, I ditched the King 3 because of these 2 limps right here. Yep. So just because, Like, the goal is to target players. That doesn't mean we need to get in every single hand with weak players. A king 3 and a king deuce, sometimes there's just hands, I could be ISOing these two limps with king 10s and king jacks. I should just wait for a much better hand, ace deuce suited even. You don't need to get into every single pot when a fish already limps in before you. So just keep that in mind. Ace and a 3 just got to come along here. Hope to see it cheaply. And the reg gives it a raise. We got a fishy call and another fishy call. Well, if you take a look here, let's get out that calculator. Cost us 70 cents. 0.7 to win. 275 plus 7 is 3.45. So we only need 20% equity. Now let's take a look here. 1, 2, 3 other players in the hand with us. So we've got the ace 3 suited. Now, let's give these guys, let's just say this is our first, let's say, whoops, lost the whole thing. Let's say this is our 2 fish and then 1 tag player here. So say this one is our tag player. Now, he is out of position, so I don't want to give him too wide of a range, but I could see him raising there. Maybe not king jack off. Ace 9, maybe not king 10 suited, jack 10 suited I could, maybe not queen 10 suited. Okay, let's give him this range right here. Whoops, nope, cancel. Okay. Now, we've got a couple of fish who are calling super wide. Set mining with anyone. Suited ace right there. Let's take him down to all these aces. As we can see, this guy is a 39-8. So we've got to give him a pretty decent sized range right here. Let's do the king 9. Let's give him some of these. Let's give him that one. And then let's go with that right there. He's got a pretty wide range. And this last guy is 69-13, and he had such good pot odds. You can expect, because I'm a strong player, he probably doesn't notice that. He doesn't know what my stats are, but he could expect me to not raise because I just called in the first place. I would have raised if I would have had a good hand, wanted to ISO. So he can expect me to call, so he can call with a ton of hands just for the equity involved in that call, Not the equity, I'm sorry, with the implied odds. Because it cost him 70 cents himself to win at the time was 205, but he can probably at least count on his money in, so 275, and then my money possibly. So he has a pretty easy call right there. And let's do a little evaluation. So our equity with an ace 3 suited is... Come on. It's a miserable 12%, we could say. It's right now running through millions of hands. I don't know, I don't know the number, but it's running through millions of hands. This is Equilab. And then so we could just stop it at any time. So we could just say very simply 12.27. What if you run a Monte Carlo? Oh, nice. Yeah, actually run a Monte Carlo is better. So we're looking at 40, 50, 60 million. And we'll just stop it because the equities are remaining about the same. We have 20.33%. We needed 20.28%. So my call is just right on the equity line there. So it's not. It's just a break-even call is basically how you can look at it there. So let's see what happens. We flop basically nothing. A backdoor straight draw to the low end. Deuce and 4 comes out. Just no good. It's just an ugly hand. So basically we're just going to give this one up here, most likely, against any bets. Now, this passive guy made a bet post-flop. So oftentimes passivity pre does equal passivity post. So when a guy wakes up with a bet, he most likely hit something decent at any time. He could have just been betting because everybody checked around the flop. That's possible. But let's see what happens. A check and a check and a queen jack. So he checked the flop. with a good hand, maybe hoping to check raise or maybe just check calling. But then another club came out, so he decided to make a little scared 1/3 pot bet. And let's see what heaven, ace and a 10. Oh, he called the 10 because he hit. Although, I'm not a big fan of calling that 1/3 pot bet. 1/3 pot means you need to win 20% of the time. Or calling the 1/3 pot bet means you need to win 20% of the time. And an ace 10 there, you're just counting on your 10 being good. It was a tiny bet, so he was probably putting this guy on just a bluff. Maybe, any club X. So maybe he had a pair of sevens with a club, something like that. That's what he could have put him on and was just taking the chance there. That's an interesting hand. Queen and 8, got to fold. Because it's such early position, it's not a great hand. Just don't want to. And what happened here? Ace 9. This hand against these two, a little bit aggressive, but a big fish. This should have been a raise. I think I was concerned probably with a full stacked, yeah, I was concerned with a full stacked reg and another full stack, reg tag player down here. Yeah, so just gave that up. Ace 9. I kind of, looking back, I wish I hadn't. This guy came in for a raise, but, who knows. Oh, look at that. Oh, I probably would have lost to a flush. Yep, because I didn't pair up. Ace 9 had trips. Although I could have put a ton of money in on that flop. But this passive guy would have called anyway with a flush draw. Yeah, so I would have lost. Results oriented, it's a good play, my fold. But targeting fish, looking at it from that aspect, I should have come in here with an ace 9 because these two players would have called with a lot of dominated hands. So, oh well, ace 9 suited would have been horrendous if I would have folded that. Ace 9 off is pretty bad as well, I think. 5-7, just going to get rid of that. 64. I see no reason to raise to ISO. I'm already last to act, so there's no real ISOing the guy. I am already isolated with him. His raise isolated me. Come on. And a 6, well, got a bet there. Hit a pair at least. He can call with a lot of hands, a lot of draws and whatnot. But the queen hits any draws that maybe completed a draw or at least hit a pair for that draw. Give it up. And then 5's good. So I got a little bit of value out of this guy. Limps pre-flop with pocket 5s in the cutoff. Come on, next hand. No need to get involved here, without a doubt. ISOing this limper, very passive guy right here. Good one to ISO. Good size stack too. We can hit something good and take a meaty pot from him. But we did get a caller from another passive fish. Now, let's take a look. This guy folds the c-bet 75%. This guy folds 40% of the time. Decent size samples. Together, versus c-bets, they're going to fold 0.75 times 0.4. Altogether, what the? 0.75 times 0.4 equals, okay, 0.3%. So together, both of them are going to fold to the flop 30% of the time total. So we want to c-bet here, most likely with a pair, trying to get kind of value, even two pair or kind of an open-ended straight draw. But c-betting against these two guys on boards that hit limpers, that hit just pre-flop callers, would be a bad idea. So let's take a look here. And then he leads out, of course, such a passive guy. He folds a lot to c-bets, which means he's pretty flop honest. So this is a good one to get out. He hit something there that he would have been willing to call with. Guaranteed he's even more willing to bet out. And a shove. Well, wow, did you hit your miracle queen? Your miracle gutter on the turn, maybe. And he folds. So he might have just had two clubs. Could have had two clubs and was just betting at it in position, trying to take it down. This guy does not like to fold. It's possible he's just bluffing here. Maybe he even hit a king jack on the turn and wanted to prevent this flush draw from hitting. It could have been a hand like that. Don't know. 84, just going to give that up. 83, going to give that up. Good. Ace, queen. Now, I think this is the last hand we're going to cover here. Got a caller? No. He does not fold a lot, so I want to make a c-bet here to get value. That's the intent. So I've got to make a decently sized c-bet for value, but I don't want to scare him off and make it too big. But but I don't want to make it too small because he's going to give me value most of the time. I might as well try to extract something from him. So I make it a 2/3 pop bet. I get a call. And now the 9 hits, which the 9 doesn't really complete any draws other than an ace-9 or a jack-9 that called the c-bet now has 2 pair on me. But I'm definitely going to c-bet again because he could be calling here with lots of jacks, of course 2 clubs, lots of aces as well that I dominate with my ace-queen. And he decided to call. Now we hit the 2 pair, but it completed the flush and a king-10 or a 10-8, which, 10-8 with 1 club, even 10-8 with 2 clubs could have called and then hit their flush. 10-8 with 1 club could have called and then open-ended and then called again. So we'll see what he does, what I do here. Make a standard c-bet again, probably planning on folding to a raise from this guy, because this kind of passive guy, he's going to shove on a flush, he's going to shove on a straight, and I can easily get away from the 2 pair. And I'm also getting value from a ton of weak aces, and maybe even some jacks, like a king jack that might have called, or like a king jack with a king of clubs, or a queen jack with a queen of clubs. Oh, no, queen of clubs is there, my bad. So a queen jack that could have called here and hit 2 pair. I get tons of value, and I can ditch it should he shove like he did in the prior hand. And he calls. Oh, shucks. I forgot about that. That's right. I remember now. Ace-queen. We chopped it. What a bummer. Well, that's it for this hand history review. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And if you watched this first before checking out that focus session, go ahead and go to that focus session now to see the hands in action as I play them, these ones that I reviewed here. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking it below and giving me a like, and leave any comments if you want to see more videos like this. If you have any suggestions for different kind of videos, I love putting stuff together for the viewers out there. So please let me know. Once again, this is Sky with Smart Poker Study. Thanking you very much and signing off.